Woo, woo, woo. Boop, 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 boop. Welcome to the Right Call podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, just a quick little FYI. We're going to be covering the election live on April 28th. It's going to be a first ever live event.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious how many people will actually get to watch. It'd be hilarious if I'm going to guess like 100, 150 live. That'd be cool.
If we go live on Instagram, on TikTok, we can stream on fucking YouTube too.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Hey, man. People will tune in.
Yeah. So look, we're gonna be going live, just trying to cover the election. We're gonna have a good time, talk about the same stuff that we're always talking about. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, if you guys want to come and join us on April 28th, what time we're gonna start at? Like 6ish, 7ish? We're not even sure yet. We'll make an announcement.
We'll have to decide today after the pod.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I'm gonna put some money in. I'm gonna polymarket.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm gonna polymarket.
Okay, cool. I like that.
You want to go for one and I go for the other?
Sure. I'm actually gonna, if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna go with the odds. I'm gonna bet on the Liberals.
You're gonna. Okay.
I'm gonna bet on the Liberals.
All right. I'm gonna put $100.
Okay, sure. I'll match that $100. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And whichever one of us wins, I don't know, we'll donate to charity or something. Who can we give it to? Whoever you have to donate it to the party that you hate the most. So the $100, you have to give it to the Liberal Party.
I'm gonna send it directly to Jack Meat's fucking office. Only if he gets reelected. If not, screw you, Jack.
Dude, Jagmeet Singh, honestly, it's so hilarious just to see the party collapse and like no one cares. He's like a piñata at this point, like no one really cares. Well, it's like whenever he's talking, and even the Liberals, they're like, "Oh, shut up, dude!" Like no one likes
he's
you.
He's like a piñata. Now I know what's hiding inside.
Yeah,
you hit it. The candy come out.
Yeah, but dude, he's like, no, the NDP are.
It's done. It's done. So.
Oh. Because like they have collapsed. They're not collapsing. They've collapsed, and all of the people that were going to vote NDP are essentially giving that vote over to the Liberals.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Well, in our writing of Lac St. Louis, I've seen more postcards or like signs for the PPC, for the People's Party of Canada, than I have NDP. I haven't seen one NDP. Yeah. I've seen Bloc Québécois, for fuck's sakes, in the West Island, and I have not seen one NDP.
Yeah, I saw one in Baie-d'Urfé when I was biking the other day, but it was Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, it was not a candidate.
Yeah, so I guess like they don't have a candidate.
Well, they do, because I went voting.
Oh, they do?
They do, but first time I see the person's name. Okay. And the thing is, because I told you, I reached out to the NDP because we wanted to bring them on a pod, right?
Yeah.
And when I reached out to their headquarters in Ottawa, they told me they still hadn't chosen.
This was what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was end of March.
Okay.
End of March. Go figure.
Well, you guys are doing a great job of sucking. So it's just like, I mean, sometimes you just gotta look at the parties. And I'm gonna say this, man. And we'll get into this a little bit later. Mm-hmm. I listened to this podcast, and again, a shout out to the Loonie Hour and shout out to Doomberg. Doomberg, if you guys haven't checked him out, very brilliant green chicken. I'm not kidding. He's a green chicken. I don't know who it is in real life.
He's a green chicken.
He's actually a green chicken. Doomberg's a green chicken.
Okay, so he doesn't show his face.
I don't know who the real person is. No one knows who the real person is. He's like a personality. Very, very, very brilliant. Uh-huh. He's American, so he doesn't have a dog in the fight, but awesome. So I listened to a podcast with him, came on to the Loonie Hour. This was actually yesterday. I was biking. Mm-hmm. I know I shouldn't be listening to my AirPods as I'm biking, but I bike through Senville. There's not a lot of traffic and stuff. And my brain was exploding. And I just want to say this too. And I think you're the same thing, just to start this podcast. We're, as much as some people might think we're like ideologically driven conservatives, I try and find the truth, and I think the same thing's for you. And basically, the party with the best political platform. I mean, if it was roles reversed and the Liberals were presenting this political platform, I'd be voting Liberal.
Yep.
Or I'd be voting NDP. I'd be voting Green. So it's not like, oh, we're diehard conservatives. We're always going to vote conservative no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's basically, I voted Liberal in my life. I voted NDP in my life. Yeah. I've voted conservative in my life. And so we're just trying to. I know sometimes our content might come across as, oh, we're far right. And a lot of people, if you actually push them on that, like I was pushing my dad on them, like, what do you mean by far right?
Yeah.
He couldn't answer the question. By the end, to his credit, he actually said, he's like, all right, sorry, I shouldn't have called you far right.
It's a tagline.
Because they just don't know any better.
Absolutely.
So we're just trying to basically, yes, we might come across as conservatives, which we probably are, but I got a surprise for you a little bit later. And I'm going to go through my whole entire thesis after listening to this podcast with Doomberg on the Loonie Hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, we'll get into this. And
sure.
What do you want to start with? I mean, we got, so Carney just released his budget. Mm-hmm. let's go to this right now.
Let's go with like the heavy numbers first, and then we can go towards like a little bit more playful at the end.
Sure.
Because oftentimes I think, you know, people start listening. It's gonna be fun. If it's fun at first and then heavy later, it's like it gets rough. So let's go with the attention span. Everyone's fucking an avocado now mentally. So especially me. Did you ever like just scroll and you just realize you're just scrolling for scrolling's
all the time?
It's fucking ridiculous.
Like I actually the other day on TikTok, I'm like, dude, you gotta quit this. Yeah. Like I'm literally, you're waiting at the elevator, TikTok. You're waiting at the elevator, Instagram. Like you can't just.
It's a reflex. Like the second you have a moment to spare, phone's out.
Yeah.
So
it's
bad.
like I've tried to actually my morning routine when I'm making breakfast. I try now to not have the phone around me and to just make breakfast in silence. And honestly, it's hard because I'm addicted to my phone.
Yeah, I know, it's wild.
Like I'm addicted to my phone. I'm not gonna pretend I'm not.
Oh yeah. We all are.
It's like yes, and it's just sometimes I'm like it's mind numbing.
It is. Let's not even get into that. But yeah, no. Let's look at the economic platform there that Carney released, and also the fact that he's going to be running a deficit, but balancing the budget after 4 years, I believe. 4 years.
I think Trudeau said that every year of his tenure.
And this is
the budget will balance itself.
And that's why I went down this rabbit hole, right? Because I was just like, I'm really curious to see how often Trudeau and Liberals said they would balance the budget, and it turned out it's not just the Liberals. Conservative did the same thing. Yep. And I went back all the way to the 1900s to try to understand, is this normal? Are we supposed to be running a deficit? But first, let's look at Carney, and then after that, we'll go and just showcase a little bit the analysis of every single government since the 60s, because there's a reason why the 60s is when I started the kind of write down of the analysis. But yeah, Carney, what is he promising?
Well, if we take a look at the graph. So basically, we got here. So Carney's election platform increases spending, budgetary balance projections. So we got in the black, the Trudeau government. In the red, let's call it parliamentary budget officer estimate. And then we got the Carney election platform. So last year, they were not supposed to. They had a guardrail at $40 billion, and that, by the way, which was they blew through it
right through.
And that was assuming that was with the higher capital gains rate, which by the way has been reversed. So it's going to be even worse. It's even worse.
Yeah,
and this just goes to show. And again, honestly, like. Same thing with Trump. Same thing. This is just politicians right now. I think just the conservative parties spend a little bit less, but they're still not balancing the budget. They still have a deficit. Yep. It's all the same across the West. It's the same in China. That's a whole other debate. What are we going to do with all this debt? Remains to be seen. But if we look at the Carney election platform. So if you look here, he's going to run. So there's a difference between, for those that are listening, a deficit is the amount spent or the
is a delta.
Yeah. So the deficit's basically the year of. The debt is the accumulative. It's in the aggregate, the amount of debt that's accumulating over time. So a deficit would be for 1 year.
Well, the deficit is a delta between revenues and expenses.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you are spending more than it's like your personal budget. Let's say you bring in $10,000 a month, right? Yeah. But your expenses, including your credit card interest and your mortgage, everything, it's $15,000. Yeah. You got a $5,000 deficit.
Yes, exactly. So if you or I were both business owners, if we were to run our business like this, so if we basically made $100 and at the end of the year we actually so our income's $100, but at the end of the year we lost $62, well, that's not very sustainable to say the least. So
unless you got some good investors.
Yeah, or that.
I run a tech company, man. We don't want profits. We just want to run deficits forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen
money grows on trees?
Well, it does, as long as it's someone else's tree.
Yeah, just print it.
There you go.
But if we get into this, so 2025, 2026, Carney, and this is coming from Carney. This is not speculation. $62 billion deficit, $59 billion deficit the year after, $54 billion deficit 2027 to 28, and then a $47 billion deficit 2028, 2029. So, and here's another thing that he's saying. So he's basically what's the number? So basically they were running at a 9% government increase in government spending over the past 10 years on average. It's going to be brought down to 2%, but that's still an increase in the debt every single year. So if this is just Chinese to a lot of people right now, they are going to, and he's saying it right in front of your face, they are going to continue running deficits year over year. So he's presenting this right now as, well, we need to, because of the threat of the looming tariffs. I like to think that as soon as this election is done, assuming that the Liberals win, that the tariffs, they're going to shake hands, everyone's going to be happy. And I think he's honestly just manufacturing a crisis, getting everyone all riled up to actually create.
I believe that 100%.
They're creating a crisis And, you know, we've given credit to the Liberals before politically on this podcast. I got to give it to these guys, man. They are way better at politics than the Conservatives. It's not even close, man. Yeah. They know how to win. They know how to control the narrative. They have control over the media. They know how to rile people up. They know how to get people to believe the message. They're great at the messaging. And I'm going to tip my hat off to them politically, man. They are very, very, very good politicians. I don't always agree with their policies, but politically, they're good, man.
Well, it helps when you have the national media in your pocket.
It does.
Just today, I saw this post. This guy kind of went on CBC News, and it took a screenshot of all the stories. Today, there's like 9 or 10 stories fluffing Carney. Yeah. There's one that mentions Poilievre, and it's like holding on for dear life.
Yeah, it's like a hit piece.
It's a hit piece.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck, man, like, I get it, especially when, you know, Canadians are hooked to mainstream media. The older Canadians, I think the younger generation's a little bit more liberated from such a thing. Yeah. But no, if you know you trust the media, and I think again, boomers have a very high propensity to trust the media, and you see these stories and you believe it. No, you're going to control the narrative. So kudos to them. By the way, and we spoke about this real quick, like we were texting each other. Because the Liberal government right now passed not like a stopgap, but the Governor General forced through kind of like a budget, like an emergency budget to keep the government afloat, right? So this was done without debate because Parliament is obviously not in session anymore. There's an election that's been called. And in that emergency budget, if you wish, or that appropriation of funds, the CBC was getting, I don't know, $1 billion. Meanwhile, CSIS, our intelligence agency, was getting like a few $100 million. When you realize that the state-run media gets more money from the government than our intelligence agency, it I start questioning, to be quite frank with you, is this just a form of propaganda at this point? You know, is this just a propaganda arm of the party?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, and there's actually a clip that I sent over to you. I'll send it to you after. Maybe we can clip this in the in one of our clips, Shamar, where this was at a fundraiser dinner, and Justin Trudeau, I think this is 2016, 2015. It was a couple of years ago, and he literally. So he starts off by saying, "Oh, you know, I can't believe you guys are saying that CBC is you know, biased." He goes, "Of course they're biased. We gave him $600 million." And then he goes after, he goes, "Well, I was just joking about it." But he's like literally saying it in front of your face. For anyone who thinks that CBC is covering news unbiased, you have your head in the sand.
Oh, deep in the sand.
And Carney, again, even straight up said, we're going to give another $150 million on top of how much they're already giving. They're giving $1.4 billion per year, if I'm not mistaken. Insane. So they're going to increase that by another $150 million. And it's just another government crown corporation that is not run efficiently. And I know a gentleman that used to work in the finance department at CBC, and he was actually saying he saw it firsthand. As soon as Trudeau got elected, they basically, I'll go as far as calling it a bribe. They basically gave all the money over to CBC. They increased the amount of money that they gave to them. And what do you think's going to happen if they give more money? All the people that work inside CBC, they're going to be able to get richer, and they're obviously going to deliver whoever's paying the checks, whoever's stroking the checks, always, they're going to cover them favorably. It's kind of like I could compare that to, you know how like all the pharma companies basically sponsor a lot of the media in the U.S. Well, and that includes Fox. Obviously, you're not going to scrutinize. I won't say the word, the V word. You're not going to scrutinize the V word and stuff, because the people that basically run the organization, they're not going to like that.
It's like in the Renaissance period when you had super rich families like the Medicis, for example, being patrons of certain artists or writers or whatnot. It was sure influence, but it's also to control the narrative. These people would portray or would send out things that would influence society. Well, you're not going to talk shit against your patrons, the guy, the family, the only group that's keeping you alive and feeding you.
You're not going to bite the hand that feeds you.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, but so just to get back on this budget, it's essentially it's more deficit spending, and I know myself, like when I first came out of university, I didn't fully understand this deficit spending, and I'm sure a lot of people don't understand it either. But the more debt you go into as a nation, and we talked about this before, there's two ways to fund a government. You can either raise taxes, so tax revenue, or you can borrow the money. So for this deficit spending, I mean, our taxes are already high enough. They're going to have to borrow this money through bonds. When you issue bonds, there's an interest charge. So the bigger the deficit spending gets, the bigger the interest payment gets. So the bigger the interest payment gets. So for example, if you're paying 25, 30% of a country's budget every year just in interest, well, that's stuff that's not going to the bottom line. It's not going to social services. It's not going to infrastructure spending. It's not going to welfare programs. It's just going directly to interest. The only thing, though, here, and I'm going to say this, is right now, austerity is not politically palpable for anybody. And as much as Doge is making its noise with regards to government efficiency, I mean, I'd make this bet as well. I don't think the U.S. is going to balance the budget this year either. And there's a bunch of unfunded liabilities with Social Security. So it's like,
well, I don't think they're claiming they want to balance the budget. They want to cut down the deficit by at least $1 trillion.
But there's still a deficit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like that debt, it's still growing. And
it's growing, but the advantage is if the GDP is growing faster, then your debt to GDP ratio is not getting worse, which I think is, especially with modern economics, with the Keynesian school of economic
and modern monetary theory.
Exactly.
AKA money grows on trees. Just
money grows on trees. As long as the debt is manageable, as they say, everything is fine. It's good to run a deficit. So, but I mean, I guess you got to keep your eyes on the debt to GDP ratio. In the U.S., if they cut down the deficit by $1 trillion, their debt to GDP is going to be doing far better than ours, which is just increasing left and right.
Yeah. There's also something that, here, I'm just going through my notes right here.
But, like, if you want, like, I want to look a little bit as like, okay, because we keep talking deficit, we keep talking budget, we keep talking about all that. Is it normal? Is it not normal? I mean, you and I, we grew up in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
That's all we've known, pretty much. It's just deficit, it's spending, debt. Was there a time in Canadian history? Is it normal? Is it not normal? When were we prosperous? So I actually kind of looked into it, right? I was super curious because we were looking, okay, so we're going to balance the budget in 4 years, 3 years, whatever. Again.
Which we're not.
But has it ever happened? I'm like, did Canada ever balance the budget? Did we ever have surpluses? And it's interesting because I normally like to shit on liberals, at least modern liberals, but we're going to see if we look at the data. They weren't always so financially irresponsible. Actually, quite the opposite. I would say that today, to past liberals would be considered quite conservative by today's standards.
Yeah, they would.
And a liberal, by the way, by definition, is supposed to be a centrist. It's supposed to be smack in the freaking middle. Today, they're much more to the left, but classical liberalism is smack center. It's a type of ideology I can definitely get behind. So I wrote down here, or I have the list of every single prime minister under governments since 1968. Why 1968? Because pre-1968, it was not common for a government to run a deficit. As a matter of fact, in Canada, pre-1968, there was not much of a deficit ever. It may happen for 1 year, but the budget tended to be quite balanced or even slightly in surplus. It all started under Trudeau Sr., so Pierre Elliot Trudeau, Justin's father. He's the one who created or started making deficits the norm. So Trudeau comes into office in 68. He promises initially to be fiscally moderate, but by 1970, he's embraced deficit spending left and right. He's never forecasted to balance the budget, but he did say that he would follow Keynesian economics, so modern economic theory, and have justified deficits. Okay, so here's what happened. The deficit peaked in 1984 at the tune of $37 billion. Our debt to GDP ratio soared from roughly 20% all the way up to 46%. It's more than doubled. Now, you can say it was maybe the oil shock, the stagflation that we had, high social spending. There's a bunch of reasons why we can say it happened. But nonetheless, under Trudeau Sr., we more than doubled the debt to GDP ratio. Then came 1984, Mulroney, right, under the Progressive Conservative Party. And believe it or not, being a conservative did not make it any better.
Nope.
Because the deficit actually worsened. So under Brian Mulroney, 84 to 93, he initially vowed to control the deficit, and he introduced probably my least favorite thing ever, a new tax, the GST, the goods and service tax. That's a sales tax on every single product and service. The goal was to broaden the tax base and to cut down on the deficit. It did neither. So we got screwed on both ends. We got shafted.
Collecting more money.
Oh, we just got shafted, man. We got fucking shafted. And so the deficit continued at a tune of $28 to $39 billion per year. You know, it's kind of crazy because we look at the deficit today in today's dollar, and it's not even that bad compared because it's nearly the same as the 90s.
Yeah.
And back then, obviously, a dollar was worth more.
Our dollar's worth a lot less today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At that time, under Mulroney, by the way, the debt to GDP hit 67% in 1993. So, all right, I was like, shit, this is not looking good for anyone. But, and here's the redeeming arc or the redemption arc. In 93, Chrétien comes into power under the Liberal government. And I got to give him credit. Jean Chrétien and subsequently Paul Martin did exactly that. They promised during the 1993 election that they would kill the deficit in 3 years. Well, they fucking did it. They balanced the budget by 96. And they've achieved a surplus by 97, a $3.5 billion surplus. They ran 9 straight surpluses from 97 to 2006. And they managed to cut down, to slash the debt to GDP ratio from 67%, the all-time high at the time, down to 38%, much more manageable. Got to give him credit. You see, like those Liberals, that's pretty good.
It was a centrist party back then.
It was. Now, we do have to mention, they did so through brutal cuts. And I'm talking about like real bad cuts, you know, austerity a la max. Transfers, a lot of programs were transferred to provinces. So it's a little bit, you know,
and they always play with that. And I just want to add in this just this little thing. The dirty little secret that the federal government talks about is, so this debt to GDP, their dirty little secret is they never include the provincial debt.
Exactly.
So I'm always skeptical about what the actual numbers are. Like, oh, our federal debt, they never say federal, but it is federal. The federal debt to GDP is X. But, and I actually have that stat, come to think of it. So Canada as a whole, including the provinces, the debt to GDP ratio is projected to reach 75%. Up from 53% in 2007 to 2008. So, and I just want to say this too, and this is a much, much, much bigger conversation. We don't necessarily have to go into it today. All of the debt, the deficit spending started in the early 70s, late 60s. What happened in 1972 with Richard Nixon?
Oh,
no, but it's true. Point. He went off the gold standard.
And
if you actually look at graphs of just household income, just overall health financially of an economy, since they went off the gold standard,
purchasing power, basically.
Which the Americans did, because they couldn't fund the war in Vietnam and all that kind of stuff. So they went off the gold standard. I feel like this is such a big cycle that started in 1972, not just with Canada, not just with the U.S., basically the entire world, I would say, since they went off the gold standard. And for those that don't know, so a dollar, it was always pegged to the price of an ounce of gold. And then essentially so you could go in and you could exchange your dollar or your dollars for whatever amount of gold it was worth at the time. But it made governments be more responsible, have fiscal constraints, because at the end of the day, if they have too much debt, another country could say, hey, we're not comfortable with the way this is going. You're going to blow out you're going to bust out the dollar. We want to go get our gold.
Yeah, because
and France actually came at the time. They brought their shit. They didn't end up getting the gold, but they came over to the U.S. to basically say, hey, you guys have too much debt. We want our gold. And the U.S. said, go fuck yourself. Well, because we have all the guns. So,
bigger gun diplomacy, baby.
Yeah, exactly. You know? But I just want to add that in. So I will, and I told you beginning, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. And this is like, I feel like it's a much bigger picture. The entire world is running deficits.
Yeah.
Everybody is. I don't necessarily agree with it, but, and I don't know, man. It's kind of like,
because everyone's on fiat now. So all money around the world now is not pegged to any asset of value, right?
And fiat currency is essentially it's a dollar because I say it's a dollar.
It's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government or your home government, right? That's all it is. It's just faith and credit.
It's a dollar because I say it's a dollar, and I have the guns,
and you have the guns.
So that's true.
It works. But it's important because you have to understand the history of money. Money started off with actually precious metal things that we saw as valuable. Eventually, it's kind of hard to just carry around gold and silver everywhere. So banks were created, and you could deposit all your heavy coins, and in exchange you'd get a promissory note, basically IOU. And eventually those IOUs evolved to modern cash, modern dollars. But until, and you mentioned that very well, until Nixon slashed the gold standard, a dollar could be redeemed at any time at a bank for gold or silver. It was pegged at a certain level of value, which meant that if a government wanted to print money, they needed to ensure that they also had stock to back it up. Right?
Yeah.
And we see, so for the Zoomers watching this, it's like cryptocurrency, right? You know, like your stable coin, USDC or USDT, right? You know how it has to be pegged at $1 and they do so through, either having an actual dollar or having treasury notes or other cash equivalencies in stock, just in case. And if you don't, then you have like a death spiral like we saw with Anchor Protocol or whatever it was called at the time. Well, it's the same thing, but with actual real money. And this is happening right now. We're just all invested in shit coins that have no backing whatsoever. And at any moment, the government can just devalue it. It's like holding a Bitcoin and tomorrow, like some guy decided, like, you know what, we're going to, instead of having 21 million Bitcoins, we're going to have 50 million Bitcoins. Well, the value of each coin would go down. It's the exact same thing that happens pretty much daily in every single every country in the world now. So it's important to understand that. And we'll just continue real quick with...
we'll tidy up with the debt part.
Yeah, the debt, because we're almost there. We're at Harper now, right? Yeah. So Harper came in 2006, so conservative government, and he continued with the surpluses, by the way, so good, thank God. And by the way, it's first time with a conservative government, right? Because it was a merger between the progressive conservative, the Reform Party, whatever, they became conservative. So they kept the budget balanced. The only issue is that the 2008 crisis came, and then they started running a deficit. So we had a surplus for a few years, deficit up until the election year of 2015, where he went back to a surplus of 1.9 billion. Not a huge surplus, but still a surplus. So that left us with our present Liberal government that came in 2015. They promised a modest deficit, but to balance it by 2019. So they were left a balanced budget. They were left a surplus, and they decided, fuck it, we're going to run a deficit, but balance it by 2019 with the famous quote that the budget will balance itself.
He's such a dimwit, that guy.
How good was that line, by the way? We should have just known right then and there.
The best part about it, I just got to interrupt you for like 5 seconds here. It's like everybody knows now, even the people who are going to vote for Liberal, like this guy did not know what the hell he was talking about.
I know.
Like he didn't know what he was talking about.
No clue. He
had no idea. It's like, he's like, tell me what to say. Just say the balance is going to budget itself. Perfect. I love that. Yeah. And he said it with a straight face too.
And he does. And it's always like, Canadians know that the balance will budget itself. Yeah, maybe that's what you should have said. Anyway, so
I wish he did say that.
I'm worse than Trudeau. That's bad. But anyway, so we all know what happened with that. He never balanced the budget, and instead the deficit grew at a tune of $20 to $40 billion per year. Obviously, it blew up. And during the COVID, oh my God, guess how much the deficit was in. The deficit in 2020, how much it was
for the year? 150 bill.
Yeah, 327.
Oh my God,
that was the COVID days. Fair enough, but no wonder.
Yes.
Anyway, so he never balanced the budget. So governments they just don't. Just putting it there.
That's it's essentially just like, and this is the part where we can put our tinfoil hat on a little bit, and kind of like a conspiracy theory. It's like whenever deficit spending is inflationary, which means your dollar is worth less. And when your dollar is worth less, it benefits the asset holders, because the assets will just go up. Mm-hmm. They're not actually going up. It's just the dollar's worth less. Yep. So they're going to kind of like, they're correlated together. And it just hurts the people. It hurts the middle class, the people in the middle that are not asset holders. So every single time, if you guys think that this deficit spending has nothing to do with you, it does. Mm-hmm. And things are going to get more expensive the more deficit spending that a government does. I just want to point us to this video here. This is coming from Mark Carney's words himself, 1 minute, 36 seconds, coming from Juno News, which still ties into what we're talking about right now. So Juno News, by the way, you guys are doing great.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, they're great.
They're good.
Mark Carney blames President Trump's tariffs to justify deficit spending.
Paul Martin, the Liberal Party, took a lot of pride in focusing on balancing the budget, and when we balance keeping it there.
Can you put the volume up a bit, Shen?
Kind of hoping that your leadership would mark a return to that focus for the party. That doesn't seem to be the case in the platform. There's no reference to ever balancing the budget.
Also, side note, look how short he is.
Yeah. Walk away
he really is.
From the fiscal anchor that the government stated just as recently December, which was to keep the deficit below 1% of GDP. So what do you say to Liberals and Canadians who are disappointed to see that direction?
Well, this is a fundamentally different approach. This is an entirely new government. It's a fundamentally different approach. Okay, first thing. It is an approach that does two things. First, it gets government spending under control. So if you go back to the previous government, this spending was growing at 9%. We're going to grow spending over the course of the next 2 years, or 4 years, sorry, at 2%. 9%, 2%. Huge shift in terms of control on spending, bearing down on spending, getting that operating spending balanced over the course of the next 3 years. The second element that's different, fundamentally different, that meets the moment, is that we are in a crisis. We are in a crisis, the worst crisis of our lifetimes, including the fiscal crisis.
Forget war, right?
Mr. Chrétien and Mr. Martin faced, because we are in a fundamental reordering of our relationship with the United States and the global economy.
So, anyways, CBC.
We're about to be drafted. We're going off to war.
Yeah,
it's a crisis.
So it's like, anyways, so that's coming from his mouth himself. There's going to be deficit spending. They're going to blame it all on Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's
like inflation, right? Inflation was Ukraine and Russia's fault.
Yeah, they're always going to have a scapegoat to basically.
It works, though. That's the thing.
It does work, and like that. That's
man. The older I get, the more I realize controlling the narrative is so paramount, and it's actually not that hard to do. Trump is really good at that, by the way. It's just he repeats the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. Eventually, people just buy it.
Yeah, and it's like very simple. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like controlling the narrative is super important, and it kind of just. Here's the other part that I've been thinking about. I'm going to go off script a little bit. It's like if you actually look at the average person, they're not well versed in politics. Frankly, they don't even really care, and they'll
they're jaded.
Yeah, they'll believe what they're told, and they'll go ahead and vote. So how do you run a campaign when most of the people who are voting for you are not educated? And you know, like I'm not a politician, so I don't know that answer. But it just goes to like, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot over the last couple of days. I feel like there's just something like so much bigger that's happening, and like this manufactured crisis that's going on with Donald Trump right now. I can assure you, regardless of who gets elected, whether it's the Conservatives or whether it's the Liberals, they are not going to. They're going to back down, and they're going to be friendly with Donald Trump as soon as this is done.
I'm sure.
And anyone who follows politics, so speaking to my buddy last night, he's like a staunch liberal, he's going to vote liberal. And I was actually surprised to hear him say that. When I made that statement, I'm like, dude, he's manufacturing this crisis. As soon as the election's done, like he's not going to be talking about Donald Trump anymore. The propaganda machine's going to switch. They're going to go, oh, he's not so bad after all. They're going to come to a deal with the tariffs. And he looked at me. I was expecting him to fight tooth and nail. And he goes, oh, Curtis, I 100% agree with you. Wow. But he's like, they're doing what they have to do right now to get elected.
It's kind of crazy.
But it's true. They're doing what they have to do to get elected. And instead of getting like, I've tried to take a step back and not get upset about it, and to just kind of like look at it for what it is. And they're just like, it kind of just, I guess I'll go into that the next point right now. It's like they don't, at the end of the day, I don't think any politician, and I'm going to say any, I'm going to paint a broad stroke. I don't think they stand for anything. All of them. I think they're just there for power. They're just there because they want to get elected. And this is what we'll go right into it right now. And I kind of want to, just like what I was talking to you yesterday on the phone, unless you want to bring something up first or.
No, well, I mean, the only thing I was going to say is that, I do think they stand for something, but that something is themselves. And a great show, House of Cards, probably illustrates really what goes on behind the scenes. Like it's all power plays, and it's all about like, how can I be where I want to be for my career, and how to control the message, because the population is seen as just disposable. It's just a vote. The population is just a vote for them to get what they want. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
So, and like right now, if we look at, and this is honestly for people listening, I actually might switch my vote to Liberal.
No way.
Dude,
you're gonna do that.
I actually might switch my vote to Liberal, and people are going to be like, "What the hell, dude? Like you're a staunch Conservative. Like what the hell happened?" And here's why.
Did you get paid? And did the Liberal Party pay you?
Here's why. Not because I agree with their political platform, not because I agree with the deficit spending, not because I agree with the energy policy that they've had over the past 10 years, not because of any of that. So right now, as I've been, banging my fist, it's very obvious that the Liberals are and CBC and that they're manufacturing a crisis for Donald Trump. Mark Carney knows, he's not stupid, that Canada needs the U.S. and that we need to be friends with the U.S. And Donald Trump right now wants to have, there's different spheres of influence in the world. We got Russia, we got China, and we have, we'll call it the United States / North America. Donald Trump, obviously, the world is deglobalizing. And again, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, this is what's happening. So he's deglobalizing. Canada has, obviously, all the natural resources. We have critical minerals. We have water. We have a great relationship with the United States. And essentially, so I'll go back to what I think what's happening right now with the Liberals. Carney's most likely going to get elected. If Carney gets elected, watch this. All the rhetoric with Donald Trump is going to fall by the wayside. He's going to stop bashing Trump. They're going to come up with a tariff deal. And I think, and again, maybe I'm wrong, I think because he's a pragmatic guy and he can also make a buck off of it with Brookfield, they're going to start to develop data centers. They're going to start to bring in American companies to help develop these data centers. They're going to build pipelines across the country. And they're also going to extract the critical minerals. I don't think that this guy believes anything he said. And he's actually been caught on TV saying that, like, so all this ESG net zero stuff. He basically said this is like a massive commercial opportunity to essentially just stamp a bucket of stocks as ESG friendly, and they can charge higher management fees. And I had a conversation with Bill Mitchell about this, and he's essentially like, oh yeah, this is like absolutely factual. Everyone who works in the industry for stocks knows that this ESG stamp, not so much today, but 2-3 years ago, it was essentially just a way for them to be able to charge more for management fees, and it wasn't actually ESG friendly. So I think the guy, Mark Carney, he's basically pragmatic, and he's just trying to make a buck off this. If he gets elected, the Conservatives are going to agree with what Donald Trump's doing anyways, the Conservatives in Canada. The other half of the country, if Pierre Poilievre was to get elected, doesn't matter what the Conservatives do, they're going to continue to kick and scream about Donald Trump. Mark Carney, however, could convince his team that, you know what, Trump, he's not that bad after all. And he knows everything that Canada has to do. So I'm essentially I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he actually doesn't believe any of this net zero ESG crap that he actually talks about. And if we look at net zero, same thing. He's a smart guy. He can't possibly believe that this net zero is ever going to be achieved. When a country like China, when a country like Russia, when a country like India, they don't give a shit about CO2 emissions. And they are the vast majority of the world's CO2 emissions at an increasing rate going into the world. He has to know that you're never going to convince these people to stop burning so much coal. It's just not going to happen. So if I can wrap this up into a nice, neat little bow, it's essentially that. And on the Loonie Hour, they actually put this perfect. They're like, so back in the 1970s, only Nixon could go to China. So the example was back then they were trying to kind of get them into the mix with the West. Nixon was a Republican. And China was communist, well, it still is communist. But back then, Nixon, if a Democrat went over to China, there would have been, you communist. And this is back in the day when communism was it's like,
it was
like
public enemy number one. Yeah.
Oh my God, a Democrat, of course you're going there, you're communist. Only Nixon could go to China because he was a Republican. And therefore, the other half of the country, the Republicans, would actually listen to what he's saying. So my point about Mark Carney is that, trust me, mark my words, when this election is done, the rhetoric about Donald Trump is going to be finished. They're going to come up with a deal for the tariffs. And then all of a sudden, the propaganda machine is going to get behind Mark Carney. They're going to say, you know what, Trump, he's probably not that bad after all. And Carney is the only person who would be able to convince the other half of Canada and the Liberals that Donald Trump is not that bad of a guy. And so my logic is essentially for the better of the country. And again, I want to make it clear. I'm not voting Liberal. Again, I'm not sure, but I'm not voting Liberal because I agree with their policies. I'm voting Liberal because I think Mark Carney is the only person that can convince the other half of the country to get along with the United States and to actually exploit all of the resources that we have in this country, which is going to benefit the country as a whole. That's That's now there's a lot of holes in that argument because in the other part, and I'll just finish with this. Sorry, I've been rambling on. Is essentially the team is still the same and they just changed the coach. Now, has this team, are they actually ideologically driven? And when you have someone like Stephen Guilbeault, he is an ideologue.
Yeah.
So are they actually ideologically driven? And will this pragmatic leader actually be able to convince them that we need to get along with the United States, we need to extract all of our resources in order to benefit the country? Or have the Liberals just been saying this nonsense because they just think it's the right thing to say and it's going to bring them to power? That remains to be seen.
I gotta say, when it comes to the private,
does that make sense? Still, kind of like, did I articulate that well enough? The argument
you did. I wrote down a bunch of things I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
I'll start by saying, I do believe that on
that was the bombshell, Shem, by the way.
Oh, Shem didn't know.
Well, I'm like, I go. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I brought my gun specifically for this reason. No, but on the financials, on the private sector side, I do believe that most people don't fucking believe one bit the ESG stuff. I know someone, and I'm not going to say who, but he's going to recognize himself. I know someone who worked on creating the carbon market for Quebec in the early days. Quebec was the first in Canada to start putting a price on carbon emission. And this person drives a fucking Toyota FG Cruiser, huge truck. Hates everything green, fucking is like the most like right-wing person you can think of, and you ask him, why did you help the government do this? It's like, well, there was a business opportunity, there was a way to make money. Dude, I don't think these people stand for anything. Yeah. And again, dude, I'm not even shitting on them. I'm just saying I think it's just a rise to power. I don't think they actually care about anything. And I think Mark Carney, for his book, maybe he does actually believe this, and maybe he will shoot Canada in the foot. However, I think, and especially based off of the clip that I saw, he's saying, oh, ESG, oh, there's flights, there's this, there's that. Or conversely, what if he's actually just a dude trying to make a buck? Well, they don't believe it. On the private sector side, again, I don't believe they believe in it. I mean, we just saw Katy Perry fucking blast off to space. She's clearly the one always patronizing us about green emissions and whatnot, and then she fucking farted her way all the way to the stratosphere.
Sorry.
Emitting more carbon emissions in like 5 minutes than someone will in their entire life. So on a private sector, okay, I believe.
But she drives a Tesla.
Or
whatever.
Hopefully not a Tesla anymore. My God.
Those are bad now.
Those are bad. Let's not drive Teslas. Honestly, like I hate electric cars and I never want to drive one. However, like after this whole thing started, I was like, should I just buy a Tesla just to spite some people? But anyways, on the public sector though, on the government side, my issue is okay, twofold. One, all right, if he's really not that much of a believer on carbon, ESG, whatever you name it, the net zero shit, why does he in his budget still have the industrial carbon tax?
And you know what? I actually have that. I know, like we'll look at it right here. So they call it. This actually came over from Europe. So I'll point this out. And you're absolutely right. So they don't have the consumer carbon tax. This isn't in the budget. Again, that remains to be seen. We have what's called the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. So I went out to Google. So it's a carbon tax. This is the industrial carbon tax. So this is, you can see right here, $100 billion. This is in the expense column, so it's a negative. Anyways, for the accountants out there, it's essentially they're going to earn $100 million off of the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, 2027 to 28, $400 million the year after. So he actually, and you can go on to, what's the website? liberal.ca / just go to liberal.ca. You can see the entire political platform. So this is for you guys to see. He's straight up saying, and I agree with you, yeah, we are going to charge an industrial carbon tax.
Yeah. So why if he doesn't believe in it? Because that's going to hurt Canada's economy.
That's a valid point, man. That's a valid point. And the wind is blowing in the opposite direction now. Let me shoot this back at you. What if he's doing this because he has to do this to appease a part of the party? And again, dude, I'm saying this fully aware that maybe he does believe this. I could be completely wrong. Yeah. But my counter argument is that maybe he'll still put some of this carbon tax stuff, he'll keep it on the books and he'll keep it as policy within Canada. But I don't think he's going to shoot himself in the foot when we have opportunities like data centers. When we have here's another one. This is actually just food for thought. expanding LNG to British Columbia. I didn't know this. So they want to build a pipeline because the natural gas in Alberta and British Columbia, it's essentially stuck. They can't get it to market. This gas, the natural gas, is the cheapest and cleanest hydrocarbon in the entire world. Yeah, and it's stuck there. So from an economic opportunity, and again, I'm talking about this as if through the lens of a pragmatic person in Mark Carney. I don't see why he wouldn't want to extract that. Why he wouldn't want to send that out.
Well, it depends. Does Brookfield have the ability to extract it?
But to be honest, man, like I would much rather have. I don't care if I really don't care that much if Brookfield does get involved in a lot of this stuff, because you know why? I would still much rather have the private sector versus the public sector managing something.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean? Like, yes, is he going to make some money on the side off of this? Yes, he's going to make some money off the side of it. Do I agree with that? No, there's a conflict of interest, of course. But if I had to choose between the two, Mark Carney making some kickbacks on the side or whatever it is, doing some favors, or having the government, the federal government actually run something, I'm going to pick the private sector like 10 times out of 10.
Of course. But maybe I'm the ideologue here, but why do we settle for that?
This is a good banter. This is good. This is good.
Why do we settle? Why are we at this point now in Canada's political landscape where it's like, okay, you know what, we'll accept corruption and conflict of interest as long as it's like the best outcome possible. Why not just aspire to more? Look,
but would you rather to have it like, what if that's the only option to actually get it done?
I rather we clean up the mess, because or else this is only going to continue to lead to more corruption. And maybe let's again, I'll play devil's advocate on the devil's advocate. Let's say Carney is actually a fucking wholesome dude. He's good and whatnot, right? But he creates a system that just perpetuates that corruption. Then eventually some fucking real dictatorial motherfucker comes into power. Now the system's already set up for him to use and abuse it. It's like the good old adage of like, you know, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't have anything to worry about. Well, you know what? If we slowly let people say, I don't know, censor speech, right? Maybe today it's to prevent hate speech. Maybe today it's to prevent, you know, people from being heard or extremism or whatever. But eventually you'll have a government official come in and start policing speech that he just does not agree with. It's the same thing. We need to uphold ourselves to the highest standard possible. And the population is the last and only guardrail to prevent corrupt people from doing these things. Ultimately, politics, a bit like business, by the way, favors, and this is fucked up, but it's the reality. Politics favors psychopaths because you have an incredible advantage over regular people that are not psychopathic. Whenever you go into politics, you'll use, lie, cheat, abuse, step all over people, and it will give you rights to power. You don't
feel bad.
And this is by the way, any high octane, incredibly strongly competitive endeavor favors psychopath. The business world is one of them. One of the highest propensity of psychopath in a job, in a profession, is CEO of companies, by the way. It's estimated 25% of Fortune 500 CEOs are actually fucking psychopaths.
Well, it's like an example. You fire someone, you don't even feel any remorse about it, but you're doing what needs to be done for the benefit of the business. And in order to run a business, I try and do this. You try and you think with your head, not your heart.
Exactly.
And they do it more efficiently than the average person.
But the problem with a psychopath is that he doesn't do it for the good of the business. He does it for the good of himself. Now, if the good of the business and himself aligns, then that's good.
And that's my point about basically giving a project or something to Brookfield. Which again, I'm speculating, but I'm just saying I'm not stupid. They're going to get their hands in there somewhere.
It's going to happen regardless. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. You're correct. 100% your analysis, I think, is spot on. My issue is that, like, I fear that if we continue to propagate and say, like, I just accept it, we're just, you know, propagating that narrative. It's okay to be corrupted. Yeah, we should not want to be. It happens, but we should not want to be.
I agree. And I want to go over to another clip. So this is from TikTok. So this is proving my point that all this Donald Trump and U.S. rhetoric is false. Okay, and I think as soon as he wins the election, assuming he's going to win, that he's going to back down from this because he knows that we can't win. And he's an economist. He worked at Goldman Sachs. He went to Oxford. He went to Harvard. We both agreed. He is not a stupid man.
Oh, he knows we can't win. That's for sure.
He knows we can't win. And so,
but
by
again,
the way,
he's lying to our face.
I agree, but he's lying, but that's politics. And he's lying to essentially just get elected. This is all they care about. This is like my point, where it's just like, I'm trying to be as objective as possible. He is saying whatever he needs to say to get elected. Yeah. And this is what the conservatives are not willing to do.
That's true.
Okay. And like, you know what I mean? They need to, like, guys, you're in politics. Okay. And I'm just going to show this clip just to prove my point that this is a bunch of bullshit. this manufacturer crisis about Donald Trump is totally false. And so I'm just going to read the title. So after running an entire campaign on buying Canadian with elbows up, Carney Liberals just got caught trying to secretly award a 25-year contract to 4 American tech companies. So this proves my point. I don't know what the contract is for. I would bet it's probably for data centers. Mm-hmm. And we were discussing this earlier. Why is Canada such an attractive place for data centers? Half of the energy that goes into running a data center is cooling the actual data center, so air conditioning. Mm-hmm. Well, if you have a data center in northern Quebec, northern Ontario, northern Alberta, those costs are going to be significantly less, especially in the winter, versus, for example, Florida or Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So American tech companies, Kevin O'Leary has talked about this as well, and Canadians have been, or the federal government has been blocking these investments for, I don't know why, but the tech companies desperately want to come here, and so here's Mark Carney just talking about it.
Report this morning that on the issue of cloud computing and data storage, the government is planning to lock in for 25 years an arrangement with several U.S. multinationals on that. And that this has raised some concerns from other companies, and this is expressed in government documents. Do you share that concern, and are you planning any action to kind of reduce the federal government's reliance on these large U.S. tech giants to just deliver government services here in Canada?
Yeah.
So, and before I say this, I just want to offer one more comment. You see what I'm saying, though? He's proving my hypothesis right now. He's already doing it. And he's literally, it's going to be for a data center, as the question was right there. So is he as ideological as we think? We'll listen to the rest.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Thank you for the question. Look, my government will undertake a comprehensive review of government procurement, for several reasons. First and foremost, value for money and the effectiveness of that. Secondly, and I won't go into all the details, I spent a day on it, on defense procurement and being more effective and having a bigger impact domestically in Canada.
All right, then he just gives a word salad. But
you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss the charisma of Trudeau. At least he had a bit of charisma, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. But so, do you see what I'm saying, though, man? It's like he's already doing what I think he's going to do. Mm-hmm. Will he still uphold the carbon tax? Yeah, probably. But and this is my issue. I agree with Pierre Poilievre's platform and the Conservatives a lot more than I agree with the Liberals. Mm-hmm. But as a patriot, and I am a proud Canadian, I don't think the other half of the country and the Liberals, if Pierre Poilievre wins, are going to get on board with what Canada needs to do economically. And Mark Carney is on the other side, can bring that other half of Canada, and they can massage the message. They can get the propaganda machine that, like, hey, look, we really need to do this. Yes, I know we might not like Donald Trump, but this is going to be to the benefit of the country. He can do something that I don't think Pierre Poilievre can do, not because his platform's bad, but because people they've been told over the past couple of months that Donald Trump is the devil.
Fair.
That's
okay. And playing devil's advocate again, because this one has been spoken about very openly by Smith, the premier of Alberta. Okay, well, you talk about rallying. Carney could rally Canada behind him. But what happens if instead he emboldens the Alberta separation? And actually now we have a constitutional crisis on our hands.
And this is where, thank you for asking that question. Yeah. And that's actually a point I forgot to bring up. What if there's the media spins, hypothetical. Mm-hmm. The media spins it as a constitutional crisis. Yeah. Alberta goes, guys, I'm not fucking around. I swear to God, if you do this, we're going to have a referendum. We're going to bounce. Okay, hold on. Let's talk. All right, you want to build that pipe? You want to get your liquid natural gas over to BC? All right, let's do that. You want to build the pipeline across Canada? Fine. Let's do that. Now all of a sudden, he is the savior. He's united the entire country. They'll build it up. Now he's the savior of Canada because he has that in his back pocket. Mm-hmm. And now he has full control and the entire country behind him because he just saved Canada. And now he's basically saying, guys, I just saved Canada. I want to save Canada again on the next step. We need to get our act together economically speaking. We need to become the economic powerhouse through our resources. And in order to do so, we have to cooperate with Donald Trump. We may not like it, but let's swallow the bitter pill and let's just listen to what Donald Trump has to say. And then he'll go and the media will push this. Mark Carney just renegotiated all these tariffs. They dropped the tariffs or whatever they're going to end up doing. No one knows what he's going to do. And the entire media machine is behind him pushing this.
Do you think that perhaps then him as an economic advisor for Trudeau, he was poorly advising him in order to eventually prop his own run to
That's
be
a great question.
Minister?
Let's go down tinfoil hat, baby.
Oh, yeah. Because that would make sense. So
that's like Frank Underwood.
Exactly, right? So let's take Frank Underwood.
Whoa, I never thought about that, but go ahead. This is fun. I like this.
You know,
this is fun. This is fun.
Again, let's say this guy is incredible. You have to understand, start from the premise that this guy is a high achiever, right? This guy is ambitious.
Which he is, yeah.
I mean, just his career showcases that, right?
Yeah.
He's been at the top. I mean, no one else has been the chairman of 2 central banks in 2 different countries. That's something to behold.
Yeah, it is.
So let's say this guy all along has had political aspirations. He wants to become the prime minister, but he doesn't want to start as a fucking backbencher. He doesn't want to have to go through all the bullshit. He's like, nah, man, I'm going to Frank Underwood that shit. I'm going to go straight to the top in the sneakiest freaking way possible. So he gets real cozy with the current prime minister, Trudeau, and through his intelligence gains the attentive ear of Trudeau, pushes and promotes horrible economic policies, which backfire tremendously on Canada. Trudeau now gets pushed out of the party, which he did. He got pushed the fuck out of there, right? He comes in, swoops in, and now all of a sudden he can implement actually good, sound fiscal policy that makes him look like the fucking savior. I mean, that would be politically, I would not put it. And by the way, it's not because it's not in a freaking show that it doesn't happen. House of Cards speculated a lot of the plot line in there is actually like bits and pieces from real American political events that have happened behind the scenes.
It's my favorite series of all time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
They butchered the end, but
Yeah, because it got woke, but
butchered the end. But the first few seasons,
excellent. Yeah,
amazing.
Excellent.
But however, I mean, that would be possible. I would not put it past it. I think it is incredibly probable even that such a thing happened.
Yeah, and I mean, if let's go to the next step. And again, we're speculating. We have no idea.
No clue.
Who actually runs the country of Canada? The banks. The banks run the country of Canada. Well, he's obviously, as a former central banker, he's going to have his ear to the street, his ear to Bay Street. He's going to have a very good relationship with the banks. Maybe the banks at one point were basically saying like, all right, there's no way that we can possibly ever win another election with Justin Trudeau running, which the Liberal Party agreed with. Maybe the banks were involved in it too. And essentially, maybe tried to sabotage Trudeau intentionally, have Mark Carney come save the day. But then again, you know what? That theory might be thrown out the window because this theory only works because Donald Trump just got elected. That's my opinion. I don't think if Donald Trump got elected that Mark Carney would have anywhere near.
No, because the crisis would not have been manufactured. And the only hole that I see is, and this as well for the banks, is that the last 10 years of economic policy led to basically banks holding on to a ton. I'm not going to say bad debt. Mortgages are not bad debt, but they're holding a lot of mortgage debt that is starting in Canada to go toxic. You know, for real, banks now are starting to like reel in and tighten in their lending policies.
But they've been like their loss provisions are going up, but at the same time too, and I listened to like the Loonie Hour talks about this a lot. The dog crate condos, like the pre-sales in Toronto, that's a fucking mess.
Yes, huge.
But outside of the pre-sales, from what I'm hearing, it's like especially interest rates just dropped.
But household debt is increasing.
It's crazy,
And obviously, people will cut everything to ensure that they can make their mortgage payment. Yeah. But I mean, we're starting to see delinquencies go up, not to a level that's been unseen before in Canada's history, but delinquencies are up, and they're trending up. And most importantly, we're starting to see delinquencies in car loans and in credit cards, which is a foreshadowing for what comes next after.
Look, something's about to happen. Economically speaking, like the long-term debt cycle, as Ray Dalio likes to talk about. But if we can just go back to the topic here about Carney, and the Liberals, it's, and I know you're skeptical of my thesis. I'm honestly skeptical.
I'm a skeptic.
But honestly, I'm skeptical of my own thesis of basically, and again, I'm debating, do I actually vote Liberal just because he's the only person that can bring half the country to the other side and to actually agree with what needs to be done for Canada. Now, I'm putting a lot of trust in him, but I'm going to go as far to say this. And again, I always try and look at this objectively. I'm not an ideologue. And when I hear him on interviews, like, I'm not going to lie, he's kind of likable.
You find
he's likable. Like he's
his face,
I don't,
the way he dodges questions,
but he dodges questions because the entire premise of what they're like. Think about it. The whole entire thing is a fucking lie, anyways. But he's doing what's necessary to win the election.
Fair, but the lack of his inability to face scrutiny, just the way he demonizes media that tries to hold him accountable.
Yeah, look inside yourself.
Yeah. He
says, yeah. No, it's arrogant.
It's arrogant.
But I'm
measure.
sure he is an arrogant guy. I mean, why wouldn't he? Of course he's going to be an arrogant guy. He's going to have an ego. Look at everything he's accomplished. So, but I think you could say...
but you know what? I've also met people, maybe not as well, no, that's not fucking true. I've met billionaires, all right? And not billionaires. I've met one billionaire. And you know what? He was the nicest motherfucker I've ever met in my life. So I don't necessarily believe that because you're successful to top echelon.
What about Michael Jordan? I mean, I heard he's a big piece of shit.
Oh, there's plenty. I think actually it's a I'm gonna say it's a non-issue because the character of a person is not necessarily tied to their level of wealth or success in life.
Yes.
Because you can look at like a Hollywood star like Keanu Reeves, who's apparently incredibly kind and nice and humble, and then you can have other actors like I don't know. There's a bunch of them. You pick the one you want that are full of themselves. You know what I mean?
So before we move on, would you agree with this statement? They're playing us.
Oh yes, they're playing us. Well, we're being played all the time.
Yeah, we're like we're being played, and it's actually, but it's dude, and you've said this before. You've hit the nail on the head. Propaganda works.
It does, man.
It really works. And like, just look at Canadians, man. I haven't caught myself. I was at a lunch, a family lunch for Easter, and I caught myself getting all riled up with something my uncle was saying. And I'm like, Curtis, relax, dude, relax. Yeah. And it's working even on me.
It creates an emotional reaction.
Yes. And when you create this emotional people will, like the message deliverer, you'll do whatever they
tell you to do
or tell you to think.
And I want to touch real quick on this, right? Because in the West, we like to look at like the Soviet Union or China or North Korea, as a matter of fact. Like, okay, today, North Korea, right? And we look at these people, we're like, how can they fall for such a narrative? Like, are they brainwashed? And this is when you realize, no, propaganda, good propaganda, you don't even know it's acting up on you, right? Same thing in Nazi Germany. You really think that most Germans were just like, yeah, let's freaking gas the, no, they were just believing that they were doing the right thing. It was for the better good of society. I can link this, by the way, to the Ronaski, how it polarized people against one another.
People were fighting with each other.
Family members were fighting against one another.
How dare you're not even allowed to ask questions.
Exactly, right?
You're not even to.
So who are we to say that propaganda is not being used right now in Canada?
Of course it is.
Of course it is in the U.S. as well. But we're here sitting on our high horse thinking like, well, we're the West, we're free. Of course, propaganda, it's what other countries do under citizen. We don't. It's like, nah, dude, this is exactly why it works. Because you don't even know it's being implemented on you. Yeah. You don't even know it. Yeah. And
this, I just to add to that point, this is the one part where it does concern me. And again, is he just saying this because he's supposed to say this as a far left party? I hope he brings it back to the center. That remains to be seen. But the fact that they're floating around the air to ban X. Yeah. So, and this is where my conscience starts to fight about it. So it's like, I've delivered my point. I think he's the only guy that can bring the other half of the country to actually agree with Trump. And mark my words, I will say it again, I'm going to repeat, trust me, this is a manufactured crisis. As soon as the election is done, Donald Trump will not be that bad of a guy. We promise you.
We all agree.
Promise you this.
I fully back you with that.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, when he's talking about banning X, and it would make sense, so I'll go a step further. As the boomers age and die off, the viewership amongst millennials with the CBC is nil, essentially.
That's a good point, yeah.
So
how do you perpetuate the propaganda?
Exactly. And this is why they keep trying to pass legislation to have more control over the internet narrative. Yep. They have it. It's and they'll say it in the name to protect children from sex trafficking or whatever. It's
always that.
Yes.
It was the same thing during the Ronski. It was all about saving your grandmother, saving the vulnerable. It's always every law that is draconian is always done under the auspice of good for people.
And they're essentially doing this because they want to keep control of the narrative because, as we're saying right now, it works. When you can control the narrative, you can tell people what to think and what to feel. Absolutely. And so, I think and this is where maybe I'm giving them too much credit, But man, if they're actually paying 4D chess, this guy's more brilliant than I thought he was.
I think he's brilliant.
But imagine though, if this is all like, and everything's going according to plan, and he's playing us like a fiddle, dude. He's that smart.
Could be.
Like he's sitting in the boardrooms with CBC. He's going like, okay, guys, no, this is Trump got elected. He's probably Trump in the boardrooms. He's going, boys, this is the greatest blessing we've ever had in Canada for the Liberal Party right now. We have to use this. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to manufacture a crisis. We're going to do this.
But never let a crisis go to waste.
Never let a crisis go to waste.
Never.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no such thing as bad publicity.
We'll get into this. This is just another example of how propaganda works. So the new Liberal campaign is fingers up. This is like the meme of the campaign. So it's this guy here.
Oh, that's not a guy.
So that's
not a guy. You misgendered. It's
yeah. Oh my God, look at her hair. This guy right here. So the meme of the campaign is essentially the Liberals don't care about the outrageous housing costs. They don't care about the rise in crime. They don't care about the healthcare. They don't care about this. They don't care about that because they've been insulated from the increase in real estate prices in Canada, and therefore they don't give a shit. And a lot of conservatives feel that they are being slighted because they are not seeing the other side of the coin. And I made a post about this that went quasi-viral to 300,000 views, something like that, where I said, look, Liberals, guys, this is why we're voting Conservative, da 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 da. And again, so I'll just go back to it. None of this matters.
The guy's face.
No, but like it's like none of it matters because like they're playing us. Mm-hmm. And so this guy actually is pissed off if you don't vote Liberal. Yeah. He's probably giving the finger to a Conservative.
Absolutely.
And the Conservative's pissed off that he's voting Liberal. Mm-hmm. And again, none of it, maybe none of this fucking matters. And
but
maybe
what if
the Liberals
it's just divide and conquer, right? It's divide and conquer.
It is divide and conquer, but it's basically like, so Carney and CBC, they've done such a great job of rallying up this Liberal guy, going like, because the number one thing on people's minds for the Liberals, because most of them are boomers and they're well off, generally speaking, the number one issue for them is Donald Trump, whatever that means. The number one issue for conservatives is the cost of living crisis. Yep. This guy doesn't care about the cost of living crisis, most likely, because he probably owns this house outright.
Probably.
And so
he's retired too. He's not working.
Yeah, like so he doesn't care. Yeah. But again, little does he know. So I'm pointing at the Liberal guy. Little does he know that he's about to think Donald Trump isn't that bad of a guy in about 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, 6 months? How about 2 weeks from now?
No, but it's crazy. Dude, if you actually think about, like, this is what I've been thinking about. It's philosophical. It's not even political. This is what I've been thinking about over the past couple of days. I'm like, what's going on here? And we were talking on the phone. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
It's not as it appears to be.
Oh, absolutely not. That's for sure. And I'll
just say, sorry to cut you off. There's this last point, because Doomberg made a really good point. I just want to add on to that. He said, and he was giving examples. I won't go into the examples. He goes, how the media, let's go to historical examples, how the media covered it and how it was written in the history books are never the same.
Oh, that's for sure.
And so he was proving the point right now. Just because the media is covering it in this way isn't what's actually happening in front of your eyes.
That's true.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I mean, the best example we can use that's actually going to probably speak to people, we mentioned it, Teslas. 5 years ago, a dude like that, or the other thing before,
the other lady, the they them,
the thing,
the they them,
right? I don't want to misgender, so I won't say anything. They would have called you a goddamn fucking killer for driving your gas-powered car, and you must buy a Tesla. It's the right thing to do. Buy a Tesla. Elon is a savior. Look at today. A little bit of propaganda, a little bit of media narrative riling up a base, and now if you drive a Tesla,
fascist!
You're a fascist. You're a Nazi. They must be vandalized, and you must be chastised for it, which is hilarious because all these Teslas, by the way, getting vandalized, oftentimes are owned by liberals, by freaking like green hippies who bought the Kool-Aid, drank the Kool-Aid a few years ago, and now they're being targeted for being on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
But that's propaganda.
Yes.
That's what it does. It riles up people.
Yes. It's no, it's crazy. So here, let's switch gears. And again, Resniak, I've never met you before, man, but I'm going to, and by the way, so we invited I know it wasn't Resniak. We invited Resniak onto the podcast. They said yes. And then 2 days before the actual podcast, they decided no.
2 days, more like 24 hours.
Yeah,
man.
24
I was at the airport finalizing all the little details, I send an email just with a release form, just because, well, I mean, we don't want to get sued. And yeah, we just got told that it was canceled.
Yeah, and this is again. So this is why I'm thinking about voting Liberal, because the Conservative Party slighted us. But we were just talking about it just because they're all the same, man. They're all the same. And what Elliot and I had an issue with was just like, okay, dude. Obviously, it's because of the release form that you have to sign. Just say that, and we would have negotiated. We said, okay, guys, if it's that big of a deal, it would have been great for our podcast to have a local political candidate onto our podcast. Yeah. If that was a deal breaker, we would have said, all right, no problem. We'll let you make the edits and stuff like that. I'm just saying that right now. So just don't give us this fluffy answer.
Yeah, and so for transparency's sake, in the release form, we did have a clause that said that, all the edits belong to us. Basically, we get to choose, and there's no kind of back and forth or like requests, right? We own the rights to everything. And that's when they declined to come on. But here's the thing, a week later, he's being hosted on a debate at Abbott with all the candidates. So he's there giving his opinions and speaking. And by the way, the excuse that was given by the party was that they put a lid on any media appearances, which is again bullshit, because there's been a bunch of media appearances since. Yeah. And we see this. And again, it's just like, guys, I know politics is about controlling the narrative. I get that. But at the same time, like, speak frankly. We would have understood. We would have made it happen. And this is where we have an issue, because in business, I'm sorry to say, but if someone does that to you, that's a huge X.
I'll never do business with you.
Exactly.
Because I don't trust you.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So just be direct and actually, like, anyways, they're all the same, the politicians. Yep. I just got to, dude, I'm going to pick on you, Matt Rusniak. And I'm not even picking on you. I'm actually picking on your party. Okay, so this is the ad. Under 45, like, this was on Instagram and it popped up. Guys, this ad is horrendous. Like, it looks way worse. If you're actually on your phone and you go through this ad, this looks like a Facebook ad from 2009. It's absolutely disgusting. And here's the other part. Dude, I don't even know what your voice sounds like. I've never seen you on social media. I've never heard you on social media. And this is the issue I have with the Conservative Party. You guys suck at messaging. You're terrible at it. And you didn't even pivot when Donald Trump was clearly, right or wrong, Donald Trump became the number one issue, and you guys didn't pivot. It is what it is. And the Liberals run circles around you. They're so much better at this. And you guys got to get your shit together and be better politicians and do what you got to do to win if you want to win. And to be honest, I don't think you guys are going to win, and you don't deserve to win either.
Well, the messaging, okay, just look at the ad right there, right? Under 45. So the writing here in the West Islands, mostly boomers, right? Like, because it's a bunch of expensive houses, families. Sure, kids grew up here, but then they moved away probably to Griffintown after mommy and daddy bought a condo there. Yeah. But anyways, which is
facts.
Facts. It's the truth. It's the truth, you know? So you're left with a bunch of liberal voters who are older. So you're not going to like polarize the younger generation. The voter base is not young enough here. So you're actually demonizing the people that you should be trying to get on your side with such an ad. I'm all for, by the way, I'm all for polarizing people. I really do believe in that. I believe strongly in polarizing, taking a position, taking a stance, and having people, some people love you a lot and some people hate you. This is going to make the younger people love you a lot. But again, the problem is you're not in the right fucking writing for this. You know?
Exactly.
If you were in like Petrie or whatever, some fucking like hipster place where it's a bunch of like, you know, CJEP and university kids, okay, maybe, but not in the West Island.
You're alienating like more than half the population and all of the boomers who are most likely. I mean, let's be honest. So here's the other part. I'll give them a little bit of a break, just because I'm sorry, here in the West Island, it's liberal.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so I'll give them there, but like, guys, an ad like this, dude, this is brutal. And also, to the fact that, like, I can't even relate to you. I don't even know what you sound like. I've never seen, it's 2025. I've never even heard a piece of content of you on the internet. I don't even know what your voice sounds like.
It would have been cool for you to talk directly to the population.
Yes.
To sit down.
But that's what Twitter is for. It was developed to skip the media and to go directly to the source, go directly to the public. That's what it's for. And you're not taking advantage of it. So I'm not going to blame it fully on Matthew Rusniak, because he probably, he's not the marketing guy. He's just there running a campaign.
For sure.
But the actual marketing team of the Conservatives, you guys suck. I'm sorry. You're not good at your job.
Yeah, and this goes, by the way, not just for a specific candidate here, but also you look at Poilievre and the messaging that's been going out. It's just been horrible all around. we can push even further. Like, okay, I would have, it's going to sound a little up, but I would have utilized my wife in this instance, Anna Poliev, I believe her name is, way more in this campaign. She's an immigrant from Venezuela, came to Canada with all, right? Aspired to the Canadian dream. Mother of 2 kids. She's a business owner now, right? She's built her life. She's accomplished stuff. Meanwhile, you have Carney's wife, who sits on like freaking charity boards and like in hedge funds and lectures all of us about how we should cut down on our freaking avocado consumption while she flies private all over the world. Like, she's detestable. She's like, you hate this woman. But yet, you know what? That would have been a great selling point, because we spoke a few weeks ago about how can the Conservatives get the women's vote. This, the leader's wife, is a clear example of you can do it all. You can be a businesswoman. You can be a family woman. You can come from nothing and build your life. It's a fucking good story.
And you want to know something? I don't know if you knew this. I only found this out last week. He has a special needs child.
Yes, he does as well.
And like, and I get it. This is where,
but we don't play identity politics.
Yes,
that's the thing.
But you're gonna lose if you don't.
And that's the thing.
So it's like you're in politics, dude. Well, I mean, it's like you're looking at the guy and the team. Guys, if you don't want to play this game, you're in the wrong business. I'm deeply disappointed with the Conservative team about that.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to go back to that. I feel like I've made all my points with regards to why I think that even though I don't necessarily agree with the political platform of the Liberals, and they even said this on CBC, the political platform was ready before they even chose Mark Carney as a candidate.
Probably.
And so Mark Carney came in, he made a couple tweaks here and there. Do you think he'll do what's right for Canada, economically speaking, with regard? I mean, I just gave the example right there. He's already doing it for data centers already. So I think that's kind of like a check mark for Curtis, just proving my point. But do you think I'm delusional to think this?
We should put like an edit. Ding.
Yeah. Do you think I'm delusional?
Delulu. I don't think you're delulu. It all boils down to one thing: how he structures the deals. Because if the deals are structured that only a few people benefit, then no, it's not to the benefit of Canada. If he does it like Norway did, and we're not gonna have time today to talk about this, but this is gonna be a good point eventually. I do want to touch on like the difference of like how can you structure a deal so that a country actually benefits from
like a sovereign wealth fund.
Exactly right. So if he sets it up properly, maybe he's going to do the right thing for Canada. I think he has the intentions to do something with it, but how the deal? So the devil's going to be in the details here.
But why? But if I'm him, I'm thinking. So again, I'm just thinking for my best interest. If I could structure a sovereign wealth fund for Canada, for those that don't know, a sovereign wealth fund is essentially it's like the country owning stocks ish. It's kind of like a pension fund, but Brookfield already manages pensions. Why wouldn't this be a great business opportunity for him to manage the sovereign wealth fund of the country through Brookfield?
Well, and again, he's never spoken about creating a wealth fund in the first place.
I'm just proving the point, and like what I'm saying is he's an opportunist.
Yes.
So if I'm him, and again, what we're talking about earlier, a win-win. So the country gets the win-win. There's all this money. I mean, and again, this is why I think his ideology, he's full of shit, because meanwhile, while he is blocking pipelines being built in Canada over the past 10 years, he'll go invest in pipelines in Saudi Arabia and other countries through Brookfield.
Yeah, for sure. But he's not against it. He's
against it in Canada.
But that's why. Why?
Because it was not politically popular for the past 10 years.
But and why was it not? And actually,
but that's outside of his control, because he had no control.
But that's what I want to talk about, because I don't think it's organic. I think the whole green push narrative it was a piece of propaganda. It's something that like 30 years ago, look, you look at, honestly, and this is fucked up, you go and look at headlines of medias over the last 50 years, 60 years, it's changed. It used to be, it's global warming, then at one point it was global cooling, kid you the not.
In the 1970s, I think Time magazine said we're going to be in the ice age in 50 years.
Exactly.
So,
then it became climate change. Now we're at a place where we're not talking about increase or decrease, because that's too hard to predict.
Climate change.
It's just climate. It's an encompassing thing. It became like you have people now. Again, people like it that we saw earlier. That these people have climate anxiety.
Yeah.
They have anxiety, fucking panic attacks. For the weather in 30 years. You know what I mean? Like it's messed up.
Yeah.
I think it's manufactured. The whole climate.
Of course it is.
But okay, but that's the thing. If it was manufactured, I mean,
it was manufactured for something, but he is trying. he saw an opportunity to manufacture something that he could make more money off of. And again, I'll just repeat it. He said, this is him on video. He's saying this is a great commercial opportunity to sell these ESG funds because I can charge higher management fees.
Of course, that's for sure true. Now, for the deals in Canada, for the pipelines, the LNG, the everything else, it's going to depend how he sets it up again. It's, first of all, are we going to have royalties? Is Canada going to take royalties or dues from the exploitation of the natural resources? If the answer is no, and it just goes back fully to the private sector, and then obviously it's Brookfield that comes and manages it all, it's going to benefit him. It's going to benefit some people. It's going to benefit Canadians at a very low level, the jobs created here, the taxes, you know. But ultimately, will it benefit all Canadians? No. The only way to do so is by protecting the interests of all Canadians, charging royalties, dues, or having some ability to funnel some profit, some money into a sovereign wealth fund, into the government directly, as long as it's not like a green slush fund. It needs to have a precise reason of being. Example, if he came out and he said, we're going to do this, we're going to charge X amount of percentage on every single dollar that is mined from Canada or oil that is drilled from the ground, and 100% of those dues are going to go to pay down the debt. 100%. First of all, the Canadian dollar would shoot the up, and second of all Canadians would benefit equally across the country. You would have my vote. I would vote for you.
And isn't it encouraging too that imagine Canada if we do get our act together? And this is why, guys, I'm going to say this. I am so happy that Trump got elected, not because of the reasons you think, but because it has forced Canada to get our act together. I am so fucking happy that he won. Like, honestly, and people are going to go, how could you ever vote for this person? It has nothing to do with his political platform. It has to do with us getting our act together.
Plus, we can't vote for him anyways.
And I'm like, a lot of times on this podcast, we've been, and we've been guilty of being too negative. I'm actually of the opinion right now, and the podcast I listened to, the Looney Hour with Doomberg, that's the first podcast I listened to about Canadian economics and Canadian geopolitics, where I actually felt great at the end of it, because the theory was, regardless of if the Conservatives get elected or the Liberals get elected, it's looking like Canada is actually going to get its act together and start unleashing the amount of resources that we have. We're going to actually start to take the energy out of the ground, and we're going to be the country that we can actually be. And it's going to help us
take a hit of hopium.
Yeah. Like I'm honestly really bullish, and I'm optimistic about where this country is going to go, and it's right in front of us.
It's possible.
It's right in front of us. And this is, again, I know I sound like a broken record. We have to get the whole country behind us. And I don't think Pierre Poilievre can do that because of the narrative that's been pushed, not because of his political platform. And just because people, generally speaking, they're naive. And Mark Carney, a guy from the other aisle, is the only person who'd be able to convince the other half of Canada that this is what we need to do for the benefit of all Canadians. This is why, honestly, I'm leaning towards voting Liberal for that reason. Maybe I'm completely full of shit. Maybe I'm stupid, and they're gonna go, gotcha, and they're gonna keep all the oil in the ground, and they're gonna continue.
If you vote Liberal, and they win, oh my God, get ready to be ripped for the next the next little while, the next 4 years of this podcast. I'm gonna rip into you. I'm never letting you live it down, ever.
But it's like, yeah, man. Are they? And this is my last skepticism. Has the party over the last 10 years actually been ideologically driven? Do they actually believe this stuff? Like, for example, Stephen Guilbeault, I think, actually does believe this stuff. But does the rest of the party actually believe this? Or have they just been pushing this message because this is where the wind was blowing? The wind is blowing in the opposite direction now. Yeah. This is not the rules of the game anymore. And again, whether you like it or not, the rules of the game in the world are changing. Donald Trump is changing the rules of the game.
That's true.
So regardless of what your opinion is on that, they've changed. Carney's not that stupid. And again, I'll just say the same point. I don't think he's that against investing in oil or pipelines, because he's done it in other countries. Yeah. So that's why I think his book, and I'm highly cynical about it, I don't think he believes a fucking word he says in the book. I think he's just saying that to basically advance his career.
But again, and I probably lean towards believing everything you just said. But for me, that's a character flaw.
It's politics.
On one end, I admire the out of it. The same way I can say, look, there's certain things about a certain painter from back in the days that I admire as well. How can you embolden and get a whole entire country to follow you and believe what you're pushing? That's admirable. Not what you actually did with it, but the rallying the country. But at the same time, it's such a character flaw. I don't want the leader of my country to be a fucking psychopath, and that's psychopathy. That's straight the fuck up, the most devious bullshit ever. And I have an issue with that.
But what if it meant the whole country rallying together?
Well, then, you know what? Again, okay, I'll say this. Ideologically speaking, if you have to lie to the entire population, you have to use propaganda on it, you need to manufacture a narrative against Poilievre, for example, for him to be demonized, in order to rally the country behind, and then after that, put it in the right direction. I'll say the following. Trump didn't have to do that. Trump didn't have to do that. He spoke to what he was going to do, why he was going to do it, and why the other side was bad.
But we're not the United States.
We're not the United States. That's true.
And Canada has always been, we don't have a big international footprint. We essentially follow whatever the United States does. And for those listening, if you think that this is the start of a hostile relationship with the United States.
Never.
Guys, come on, give me a break.
Never.
They're doing this to win an election. Everything's going to be fine. All these stories about going across the border and they're looking at your cell phone and, oh my God, the Americans are going to kill us. We're canceling our vacations. No, but it's just and again, the same point. Propaganda works, guys. So it's I'll say this. We can end on this. You're being played. Take a step back. Look at it for what it actually is. Turn off CBC. Think for yourself. And that's what we try and do on podcasts like this. I don't know if you have anything to add, but that's my final word.
The only thing I have left to add for you is you should send us out with a little elbows up, Curtis. Let's do it.
Elbows up. Elbows up. Whatever that means.
I still don't know what it means.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Elliot.
Cheers.